Hello, my name is Joel Pearson, and I am the Life Group Coordinator for Shine Bible Fellowship. And today I'd like to share with you a couple of tips for facilitating your life group. The first one I want to talk about is preparation. You want to make sure that you go through and understand the materials, or at least the topic, before you go into your life group. You want to watch the videos, you want to answer the questions, and go to the questions and make sure you understand what they're asking, and make sure the questioning makes sense, and maybe be prepared to make it make sense as you're going through it. Also, as you're going through and answering the questions, think of any questions that pop in your head while you're going through the questions and write those down. Maybe you have an answer for them, or just write them down as discussions for everyone else to participate in. So make sure that you really are familiar with the materials. And if you have questions, reach out to um, other life group leaders. Ask if you have a co-leader, reach out to them, reach out to the coordinator, reach out to the pastor, reach out to any leadership that can assist you in understanding your life group so you can properly prepare. The next thing is prayer. Now, technically, that really is the first thing. Prayer should be a part of your preparation, but to really facilitate your life group well, you really want to pray. You want to pray for um, your understanding the materials. You want to pray for life group members coming into it, other life group leaders who are going to be leading. You just want to pray before you do the life group uh, to make sure that you're prepared, that you're ready, that you're centered, that you've had that conversation with God that helps you to connect to God so that you can be ready, so you can be filled up with your relationship with God that will help you pour out into others, as well as praying for other people to help make sure that they are prepared, or their hearts are ready, or just ready to be a part of the life group. Another facilitation tip is that you make sure you create a safe environment. You want to make sure that um, the environment is honest, that it's open, that it's welcoming, that people don't feel as if they cannot share within the life group. You know, individuals may feel like might have stupid questions, or questions that make them seem as if they're not as saved, or questions that make them feel like they might be, unintelligent, or whatever it may be. Create a safe environment so people don't feel that way. Create a safe environment so people want to share. And the way you do that is actually by being honest and open yourself. So make sure you create that safe environment. Also, another way to create a safe environment is to help others not talk over people, bully people, or make other people feel unsafe. You want to protect that environment there in the life group to make sure that people can honestly and openly share, so that they won't feel self-conscious about sharing, because that sharing is going to help us to wrestle with just the issues of life openly, and in the great place there is right here while we're with God and spending time with God together in a group. Tangents. Okay, this facilitation tip. Tangents. You want to be very careful to rein in your tangents as a facilitator, not to get too carried away on something that might be a parallel to what you're talking about. Something that'll be a tangent, rabbit trails, if you will. You want to make sure to limit those. You want to make sure to limit other people's rabbit trails to kind of rein them in. It's okay to let people go off a little bit, but you shouldn't, veer off too far, because you have limited time to get through the material. So be sure that you're very mindful about the tangents that people can go on. Make sure they don't get too carried away. Maybe limit them to like 2 minutes, whatever seems reasonable for people to go off, or for yourself to go on a tangent. Speaking of tangents, let's talk about redirecting individuals. You want to make sure that people, again, don't get too far off topic. Don't get too far into their situation. You want to bring them back to the center. Now, they may have a issue of life that they're concerned with, and that's perfectly fine. But you want to make sure that that person's issue doesn't dominate the conversation. And honestly, if someone has to be redirected, often you may say, you know what, this might be a person that would really benefit from them having that one-on-one interaction with you. You can pull them in, and they can be one of your life group partners because they're dealing with something that needs to be dealt with, not just within the life group, but outside the life group. Now, this is an interesting facilitation tip. It pretty much is facilitate. So you must look at yourself more as a facilitator. Look at yourself, just to use a basketball reference, like a point guard. You're constantly giving other people opportunities to share, to talk, to share within the conversation. You do not want to dominate the conversation yourself as a life group leader. You kind of want to open up. You want to get the conversation started, but your voice should be heard less than everyone else's. Honestly, you should be doing a lot of listening as a facilitator because the listening can kind of help you guide the flow of the conversation in a life group. So you really want to make sure that you are a facilitator, not a dominator. Also, you don't want to be a shrinking flower either, to where you're letting people talk and you're not really engaging what's going on and guiding it. So you want to make sure that you facilitate your life group so that people will get a great opportunity to really share what they're learning in the life group. Now, this is one of my favorite tips. That tip is silence. When you ask a question, don't be in a hurry to receive an answer. Sometimes the best conversations follow a little time of silence. I really don't want to put a number on it. It could be 5 minutes. That sounds like a long time, but sometimes it may just take that because people don't always have to have an answer to the questions that's being asked. And that's okay. And you should set that environment so it's okay for people not to have an answer right away. Let people take a moment to think about the question. So silence is good. Some people say silence is golden. So allow there to be a little silence so people can take their time to ask the questions and really wrestle with the questions that they're hearing. Conversation. This is a great facilitation tip because that's what you want to happen within your life group. You are trying to facilitate conversation, meaning we want to have an ongoing flow and exchange of ideas so people can just really get out what they're trying to understand. I myself am a verbal processor, so I actually do really good with talking and conversing to make sure that I understand something. Now, sometimes in my conversations, I can get a little excited. My conversational volume can increase, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I am upset or anything like that. It's just I get very intense with the conversation. And I think if we can recognize that people are getting intense with the conversation or just allowing them to really get into the conversation, we can do a really good job to facilitate our life groups. Now, if there's conflict that's going on within the life group, you want to make sure that that is brought in, that is reined in. And if there is conflict, there may need to be an offline conversation to ensure that we kind of calm the waters in the conflict. If you're not comfortable with that, with having that conversation, I would definitely get some tips from the life group coordinator, other life group leaders, and definitely the pastor. So definitely understand that conversation is good, but you want to bring it in so that's not turning into conflict. All right. And the last facilitation tip is collaborate. Work together. When we're having conversations, when we're facilitating, when we're, redirecting, we want to be sure that there's not any competition that is brewing, but there's just nothing but collaboration. We're all working together to have this beautiful, cohesive life group where people are able to freely share, people are able to freely learn, where they're able to come together and collaborate and everyone's learning. We also want to bring this collaboration into a little bit of the leading of the life group, into the administration of the life group. You want to work within your members. You want to work with individuals to be sure that you're able to collaborate as you are developing and growing and transforming this life group. Thank you for joining me in this session of Facilitation Tips for Life Groups. My name is Joel Pearson. Be blessed and have a wonderful day.